sorrow for your sins. Right? Go ahead.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
Understand, a lot of these ordinances or practices, heathen customs, they have a lot to do with the seasons, the winter, the fall, the spring. It has a lot to do with the seasons, because there was a time, a lot of these festivals, there were times where the heathens would worship the sun god, or they would worship, they would worship agriculture, and it was to promote the growth of crops, right? Which during the time of Easter, or during the time of spring, spring represented life. It represented fertility, right? Which is why Christians run around with what during the time of Easter?
Palm leaves?
No, they run around, collecting
Easter
eggs, right? Which represented fertility. That's something that we'll get into when that time comes around. We're really going to slam on Easter. But Lent is the 40-day period before Easter. And in some, like, Christian rites, some Roman Catholic rites, it's really not 40 days before Easter. What do I mean by that? Meaning, it's really 46 days, right? Because from Ash Wednesday to Easter is a 6.5-week period, right? Mm-hmm. So what they proposed throughout the generations is that they would omit the 6 Sundays from Ash Wednesday to Easter to make it symbolize the 40 days before Easter. So it's really, if you really want to be literal about it, it's really 46 days. But they've omitted the Sundays. Because think about it, right? Easter this year falls on what? April 9th? Yeah, Easter falls on April 9th this year. Okay. So Ash Wednesday is what? On the 26th of February, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct, yeah. On the 26th of February is Ash Wednesday. Easter falls on April 9th. How many days is that?
46 days.
It's about 46 days,
yeah.
Right? But what do they say? Lent is considered a 40-day period before Easter, right? Which disproves that there is no 40. Which disproves that, number one, Easter is really the Passover. That's really what it is. And the Passover is not determined by a 40-day period from Ash Wednesday, but it's determined by the new moon. But it's just more pagan practice that the Christian church has implemented, has planted into this religion. And truly it's a religion that's destructive, because it completely goes against everything that the Most High told us not to do. Everything about Christianity is against the Most High. But yeah, let's pull up Lent real quick. In what source do I want? Just to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Just pull up Lent real quick, and let's lock it. Let me just What sources do you have popped up on that?
Wikipedia, 40X, Britannica, BBC, New Advent, USCCB, Crosswalk, Catholic Education.
I'm looking at it now.
Washington Post.
Nah, I don't want none of those. I just need, let me just pull this up real quick. Yeah, pull up the first one.
Wikipedia?
Yeah, pull up that first one. Just need some basics on that. Before you get that, 1 second. Bear with me, y'all. All right. Let me just pull up my bookmarks real quick. Shalaka, bear with me. My internet's acting up.
So the word Lent literally means 40.
No, it really means length. That's what it means, length. No, we'll get the etymology of it in a sec. Salaki, bear with me. Yeah, go to the first one. Let's get that real quick.
Khan Adawan Khan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lent, in the Wikipedia, Lent is a solemn religious observance in the Christian liturgical calendar.
Yep.
That begins on Ash Wednesday.
Hold on 1 second. So last week, you had a bunch of Christians that went to church last week, and they began this solemn assembly of the beginning of their penitence, of them being sorry for their sins. And so as we read on, we'll see what this observance is about. A lot of it has to do with, reducing, your pleasures, and a lot of it has to do with fasting, and somehow, getting closer to the Most High, reestablishing your relationship with the Most High. So all the evil that you've done all year round, all last year prior to that on that day is you turning around and telling, who their deity is, who they consider Christ as their deity, that you're sorry for the things that you've done and that you're willing to give up some things for a 40-day period, and then going back to being a lustful, sinful bastard that is a whore, that is a drug addict, that is an adulterer. It's a seasonal time of repentance. And it's so wicked and evil because instead of you just, killing the old man, right, completely, you kind of pick and choose the things that you want to, be an obeisance to for that 40-day period. But let me get that, Richard, real quick. Go ahead.
Con out of one con. And ends approximately 6 weeks later, before Easter Sunday.
So it's a 6-week period before Easter Sunday, right? Which is really, it's really a transliteration in the Bible. Easter is really the Passover. That's the proper translation in the Bible. Christ never, Christ during the Last Supper, he was celebrating the Passover. That's what he was celebrating. He was not celebrating Easter, but he was celebrating the Passover. But go ahead.
The purpose of Lent is the preparation of the believer for Easter through prayer during penance.
Doing penance. That's the whole. Penance is the act of. It's basically the repentance of sins. That's what the That's what that term means. Go ahead.
Mortifying the flesh. Repentance
So,
of sin.
what does it mean to mortify the flesh?
To guess it must be related to those dudes that be whipping themselves, that be literally cutting up their skin in their churches.
There's another term for that. Mortifying the flesh is fasting, right? That's mortifying the flesh, right? In the Catholic representation of it, abstinence is mortifying the flesh, meaning Lent discourages marriages for 40 days. So for 40 days, right, in the Catholic religion and in Christianity, in certain sects of Christianity, you can't sleep with your wife for 40 days, right? You have to deny yourself the pleasures of life, right? Go ahead. That's what they consider mortifying the flesh. Go ahead.
Repentance of sins.
Go ahead.
Almsgiving.
What's almsgiving?
Charity.
So basically, you can't go out, right? For 40 days, you can't go out, and how they look at it is you can't go out and and have an expensive dinner, or you can't go out and enjoy yourself. And during this time period, you have to fall back from all that and give, through charity, give your money through charity and do almsgiving, basically, either materially or sense of providing something. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
And self-denial.
And self-denial, which is like abstinence and sensual pleasures, right? Just for the purpose of being closer to the Most High. This is what they believe. Go ahead. Which I can guarantee you, everyone that has an ash on their forehead as of last Wednesday, do none of those things. You know what I'm saying? I can guarantee you they don't fast, right? I can guarantee you they're not given to charity, right? I can guarantee you there's no, they're having sex with anything walking down the street, anything with legs walking down the street. I can guarantee you they got a cigarette in their mouth right now during this 40-day period. I can guarantee you that they're switching up and down the street like some goddamn homosexual during this 40-day period, right? Doing all manners of evil during this 40-day period. Go ahead.
This event is observed in the Anglican, Eastern Orthodox, Lutheran, Methodist, Moravian, Presbyterian, Oriental Orthodox, Reformed, and Roman Catholic churches.
Right.
Some Anabaptist and evangelical churches also observe the Lenten season.
Okay. Pause right there, right? So now it's going to jump into, certain things that goes on during this time period. The next part talks about the last week of Lent, right? Which is the Holy Week. This is around the time where it starts off with Palm Sunday, right? What's Palm Sunday?
I just know they pass out palm leaves.
All right. So Palm Sunday, right? in the Christian church is a feast that falls on Sunday before Easter, right? So it's the feast that commemorates Christ's triumphal entry into Jerusalem, right? So this is the time of year where they they pass out palm branches, and a crowd scatters. So basically, a crowd scattered in front of Christ as he rode into Jerusalem, with palm branches in their hands, right? So that's what they do the Sunday before. And then basically what they do with those palms is they burn it. And when they burn those palms, what happens is it turns into ashes or whatever, right? And then that Wednesday is how it was when they do that. And then that Friday is Good Friday. And then that Sunday.
So they put ashes on their head again.
Yeah, that Wednesday. And then also they abstain from meats, right? And what is the Bible talking about? The Roman Catholic Church is known for abstinence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're known for discouraging marriages, right? Which is where you probably get a lot of child molestation. You probably get a lot of pedophilia and a lot of homosexuality that goes on with abstinence, right? But what does the Bible say about abstinence? Despite Christian belief.
Quite a few scriptures on it. Hold on.
When is the only all right, number one, when is the only time you are to abstain from having, sex with your woman?
If it's a fast that you and your woman agree to.
If it's a fast that you and your woman agree to, right?
Yes.
Now, during the time of Paul's day, right, what were they trying to teach?
Concerning marriage.
Concerning marriage.
Marriage is good in all things.
No, but what was Paul fighting against?
His flesh.
During this time. Go to 1 Timothy 4:3. Start at verse 1.
1 Timothy 4, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith.
Go ahead.
Giving heed to seducing spirits.
And this is a seducing spirit that's put upon Israelites that are in the Catholic regime or Catholic religious order, right? And keep in mind, there's 2 billion Catholics on the planet today, right? That's about 1/4 of the population, right? And in the Israelite school of UPK, we believe that everyone outside of the school is a Christian. We truly believe that. Keep reading.
Giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrine of devils.
And this is a doctrine of devils. Lent is nowhere found in the Bible, nor is Good Friday, nor is Ash Wednesday. None of that is found in the Bible. Keep reading.
Count out on count. Verse 2. Speaking lies and hypocrisies, having their conscience.
How does someone speak lies and hypocrisy? Meaning, they'll say something and they'll do the total opposite, right? They speak lies. They're hypocrites of what they teach, right? These people are hypocrites of what they teach. Do you think Catholic priests abstain from sex? No, they don't. They have sex with little boys. That's what they do. You know what I mean? As they tell you to abstain from marriage, right? As they tell you to do that, they're having sex with little boys, right?
No.
Go ahead.
Having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
Mm-hmm.
Forbidding
Meaning
to
this
marry.
is so branded in their brains that it's so hard to sway them or to persuade them to start following the Most High, because this is something that has been branded since they were children. Christmas has been branded in your mind since you was a child, right? Easter has been branded in your mind since you was a child. People that grow up practicing Lent has been branded in your mind since you was a child. Go ahead. So it's very hard to take off that mark that's been put on them. Go ahead.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
No, read part 3 again.
Forbidden to marry.
And these are people that, number one, a priest is allowed to have a wife, let alone a priest is allowed to have more than one wife. You know what I'm saying? A man is allowed to have more than one wife. But what does the Christian church tell you? Christian church tells you that you can only have one wife. Or if you are a Catholic priest, you're not allowed to even have a wife, meaning forbidding to marry, right? Go ahead.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
And commanding to abstain from meats. Now, during this 40-day period of Lent, I remember growing up, and people used to always talk about Good Friday, right? And what weren't you allowed to do on Good Friday?
I do not know.
Let's look up Good Friday. Number one, what did Good Friday represent? Number one, pull up Good Friday real quick. Pulled it up. Type in Good Friday, right, and type in no meats, right? During the time of Paul, there were factions and religions that were saying to abstain from meats. Just like I feel like people that are vegans, they got a religion that they're a part of too, right? And they die hard about that religion. And they look at someone that eats meat as someone that is going to that is harming themselves. And even vegans tell you to abstain from meats, but on Good Friday, they tell you to abstain from meats on Good Friday. And Good Friday is something that's observed right before Easter Sunday.
So, Wikipedia?
Yeah, just type in Good Friday, no meats.
Okay, hold on.
You just need a quick definition of it.
Good Friday, no meat.
Go to the Rediscover. There's one that says Rediscover. Oh, actually,
yeah,
it says
it's
fasting, due to fasting and abstinence in the Catholic Church.
It was the Rediscover was the first one. You said
fasting and abstinence. Right below that one.
It's not. I got Friday fast.
No, so right before the Rediscover,
Oh,
there's
before
one
the Rediscover.
right after it says fasting and abstinence in the Catholic Church.
Okay, Wikipedia.
Yeah, go to that real quick. Go ahead.
It's loading. Fasting and abstinence in the Catholic Church.
Go ahead.
Catholic Church historically observes the disciplines of fasting and abstinence at various times each year.
Go ahead.
For Catholics, fasting is the reduction of one's intake of food, while abstinence refers to refraining from meat or another type of food. The Catholic Church teaches that all people.
That what?
All people.
They teach that all people are what?
Are obliged by God to perform some penance of their sins.
To perform what?
Some penance of their sins.
So now, you were bringing up the fact that some people whip themselves with belts, right? To show that they're sorry for their sins, right?
Okay.
There's others that fast to show that they're sorry for their sins, right? There's others that abstain from meats, right? That deny luxury pleasures, right? There's others that, they also teach that you can't have sex with your woman. You can't enjoy any pleasures, is what they teach, right? In order for you to perform some penance for their sins. But here's the problem, right? What does the Bible say about your righteousness?
That's filthy rags.
He says your righteousness is as filthy rags. You can find that in Isaiah. You can also find it in which one is it again? I forget. Let's see. Salaki. Isaiah. You can find it in Isaiah 64:6, where it talks about. It says, "But we are all as unclean thing." There's no matter what you do for the penance, to perform some penance for their sins, no matter what you do, without Christ, it's all null and void. It says in Isaiah 64:6, but we are all as unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags. You know what I'm saying? All your righteousness is as filthy rags, And what's even sad about it is that you're only doing it for a 40-day period. And we're going to talk about the carnival and how that plays an importance before Lent, right? We'll talk about that in about a hot sec. Keep reading on that one.
Kind out of one kind. Fasting and abstinence.
Actually, just jump out of that. Jump back to the scripture real quick.
Okay, kind. Which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth.
Which of them which what?
Believe and know the truth.
See, let me tell you something. You don't believe, nor do you know the truth if you've had ashes put on your forehead with the symbol of a cross. You don't believe, nor do you know the truth. You're actually practicing an old, ancient Babylonian custom. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that's old and ancient, and it's been done, and it's the same thing that was done in the past, and we'll explain on that. Go back to Lent real quick. The only time you're required to perform abstinence of meat or food, meat meaning food, is when?
Oh, for us?
Yes.
It's during the
Day of Atonement.
Day of Atonement.
Day of Atonement. That's when you're required to do it. But go ahead.
I forgot where I was on Lent.
If it's not found in Leviticus 23, then everything you're doing is in vain. You know what I'm saying? When Christ gave new commandments, right? He says, "I give unto you a new commandment." The new commandment that that he was given unto the children of Israel was not a new commandment, but what it was a commandment that he had to resurface because of how far gone they were from the Most High, how you know, at the further you go deeper into the embodiment of heathen customs, the more that you fall out of line with the Most High, and that's what people don't understand. You know what I mean? Keep reading. Let's go back to Lent.
The last week of Lent is Holy Week.
Go ahead.
Starting with Palm Sunday, following in the New Testament story, Jesus' crucifixion is commemorated on Good Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of the next week, the joyful celebration of Easter Sunday.
See, Christians worship the death of Christ. That's what they worship. Which is why they have a what? A cross around their neck, right? To symbolize the death of Christ, right? But go ahead.
Salaki, sir, this is an open admittance of knowing that Sunday is the beginning of the week too. It's not the Sabbath day.
It's not the Sabbath day. This is an open admittance because Christians worship the sun god. That's what they worship. You know what I'm saying? That's why the first day of the week to them is Sunday, because they worship the sun god. Go ahead.
Celebration of Easter Sunday recalls the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In Lent, many Christians commit to fasting.
Which many don't, but in Lent, in the 40-day period, supposedly many Christians commit to fasting to replay what Christ did in the wilderness for 40 days. Go ahead.
This is known as one's Lenten sacrifice.
No, you missed it. As well as giving up certain luxuries.
Oh, Salaka, commit to fast as well as giving up certain luxuries in order to replicate the account of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ's journey into the desert for 40 days.
And this is why they do it, right? Which in the scriptures it doesn't tell you to do these sort of practices. It doesn't tell you anywhere in the scripture to do any of that, right? Now jump to the etymology part, real quick, to find out what Lent is.
The etymology. The English word Lent is a shortened form of the English word
Lengthen,
meaning
what?
Spring season.
That's all it means. It's all. Listen, all these pagan customs and these holidays that these Christians worship, it all falls back to old pagan, heathen customs of the worship of agriculture, the worship of the seasons, the worship of the sun god. You know what I'm saying? This worship of these different deities, these Babylonian deities, the Assyrian deities. You know what I'm saying? It even goes back to Tammuz, right? Tammuz was a time where they mourned and they lamented for 40 days, right? Let's actually jump to that. Let's see if we can find. Look up Tammuz real quick. Tammuz, and let's associate it with Lent. Actually, before we go there, right? Remember that book I told you the PDF I told you to download, Two Babylons? The Two Babylons. Did you ever download that PDF? I think you did.
I did, but
you took it off? You still have it?
Probably do. Just gotta find it.
Okay, so type in Two Babylons Lent. I know you had it a PDF version of it. By Alexander Hislop.
Speak on Tammuz? Or what?
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Go to section.
source.
Salaki, I'm about to pull it up. Go to I don't want to spend too much time. I want to spend about 5 minutes. Salaki, bear with me. I'm about to pull it up. Salaki, let me see if I can find it. Bear with me, right? I got this. Salaki, bear with me, y'all. Let me just look this up real quick. See if I can find it. Okay, while I'm looking for this, right? Type in Mardi Gras and Lent. So a lot of these customs like Mardi Gras, right, that we do today, that I know pretty much all of you've heard about Mardi Gras, what goes down in New Orleans, but
About a week ago.
Carnivals play a big part in before the precedence of Lent in that 40-day period. So basically, here's what a carnival is, right? The carnivals that you see today, they're all over the place, right? Brazil, the Caribbean, in New Orleans in America, you got Mardi Gras. There's a bunch of them, right? And they have a huge tie into Lent. Type in Mardi Gras and type in Lent.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Mardi Gras is French for Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
and
the
is
term.
the final feasting day before the Christian season of Lent.
Okay, so now let's get into this real quick. I don't want to get too much into that. This is something that's important. This is more relevant. So, what source are you in right now?
Almanac.
Yeah, let's get that real quick. Jump into that real quick while I look for this one. You said Almanac?
Almanac.com.
Okay, I haven't heard that in a while. When is Mardi Gras?
Yes, kind of on.
Okay, yeah, jump into that. What is that? What's that about? Go ahead, read that real quick. Yeah, go ahead. Fat Tuesday.
Oh. Mardi Gras is French.
Now, keep in mind, right? Before we bring up Mardi Gras, right? I want you to pay attention to the colors that are used, right? What do I mean by that? Meaning this. There's certain colors that are used during the time of Lent, right? And it's been characterized as when pastors wear a vestment, they usually wear something that's violet or purple, right? During Mardi Gras, what is one of the most symbolic colors is violet, purple. Those are some of the symbolic colors. But violet is like the derivative of violet and purple. They're all the same. Violet, purple, pink, right? That's all one line, right? And so these are the colors that you'll see during Mardi Gras, right? And it's the same color during what they call the Easter Triduum, right? Where the pastors would wear a violet vestment during the season of Lent, right? And let me just read this part real quick before we get to that. So basically, it was the practice in Rome for penitents and grievous sinners to begin their period of public penance on the first day of Lent in preparation for the restoration to the sacrament of the Eucharist, right? Look up Eucharist real quick for me, real quick. They were sprinkled with ashes, dressed in sackcloth, right? this is what we did in Israel, right? We would dab ourselves with ashes and dress in sackcloth during the time of mourning. That's what we did, right? What is Eucharist?
How do you spell it?
Eucharist.
Eucharist. Now, the Christian ceremony commemorating the Last Supper, in which bread and wine are consecrated and consumed.
Okay, so now we know what Eucharist means, right? So now, this is a preparation for the rest of the sacrament of the Eucharist, right? So that basically, they would sprinkle ashes on themselves, dress in sackcloth, and this group they were obliged to remain apart until they were reconciled with the rest of the so-called. And there's another one called Maundy Thursday. Look that up. Maundy Thursday, before we get into Mardi Gras. Give me that real quick. Maundy Thursday. This was the Thursday before Easter, right? When was Christ put on the cross according to Christian liturgical? When was Christ put on the cross?
On Friday, Good Friday.
No. Remember, you got to remember, he rose what day? On the what? Third day, right? Think Christian dogma.
He rose on Sunday, according to them.
According to them, he rose on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
When was he put on the cross? On a Thursday. Look up Maundy Thursday.
Maundy Thursday is the Christian holy day falling on the Thursday before Easter. It commemorates the washing of the feet and Last Supper of Jesus Christ with the apostles.
Go ahead.
As described in the canonical Gospels, it is the 5th day of Holy Week.
So basically, it represents the Last Supper. So when was he put on the cross? So it would be Friday,
Good Friday.
Saturday. It's like it. Yeah, you're right. Friday, Saturday, and then he rose what?
Sunday.
Right. Now, how does the
math's off.
Huh?
The math is off.
Yeah. So how does it work? So for us, it's sundown is the beginning of a new day, right?
Come.
So if sundown is the beginning of a new day, so it wouldn't even make sense. That means he rose on the second day if it's Sunday.
Come.
If it's Friday, right? Saturday, right? Sundown Friday, sundown Saturday, sundown Sunday, it doesn't make no sense. The math is way off, right? Keep reading.
Count out of one count.
Oh, just fall back on that one. So this is the Thursday before Easter, this Maundy Thursday, right? Which was considered what? Was it the Last Supper?
It's considered the Last Supper. Count out of one count.
So after a while, these practices, they disused these practices, right? And so they began this penitential season, is what they would call it, of Lent. And that's where the whole symbolized of ashes and on the heads and then on the entire congregation. This started around the 8th to 10th century AD. That's when this all started. And so in the modern Roman Catholic Church, right, the ashes obtained by the burning of the palms on that Sunday, during that Palm Sunday, was used was used on that Palm Sunday. Those same ashes were put on their foreheads. That's where that comes from, right? So I just wanted to get the meaning of that. But let's spend the next 10 minutes on the carnival.
On Mardi Gras?
Con.
Mardi Gras 2020 is Fat Tuesday, February 25th. Why do we celebrate Mardi Gras, also called Shrove Tuesday or Fat Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
This holiday is associated with delicious foods and revelry. Learn more about the festive holiday.
So here's what Mardi Gras is. The day or the week before the Lent starts, You get it all in. Get it all out the way. Get all your sexual desires out the way. Sin beyond sin. That's what Mardi Gras represents. That's what the carnivals represent. Which is why you go to Brazil and you have you have transvestites and you have people naked all across the street, right? And Edomites made Mardi Gras very popular. How did they make them popular?
How do you what?
Beads, flashing, right? Showing, just doing all manner of evil. Carnivals, it was a way of saying, before I go on this Lent period where I have to start fasting, I have to start, observing the scriptures, I have to start, being in tune. I got to start being in tune with the Most High. Before I do that, during the Mardi Gras period or during the Carnival period is the time that I could exercise my hoism. I could be the biggest hoe and walk around naked and do all kinds of reveling, right? Before that time period where I have to commit to the Most High or commit to Christ, who is the deity of Christians. I have to commit to him for that 40-day period. That's what that carnival represented. You know what I mean? Keep reading.
Mardi Gras takes place on the day before Ash Wednesday.
Go ahead.
The beginning of the Christian observance of Lent,
Go ahead.
which lasts about...
It takes place before when?
The Christian observance of Lent.
The day before Ash Wednesday, you said?
Come.
Go ahead.
The beginning of Christian observance of Lent,
Go ahead.
which lasts about 6 weeks until just before Easter. What is Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras is French for Fat Tuesday, and the final feasting day before the Christian season of Lent, which begins the day after Mardi Gras, Ash Wednesday. Fat Tuesday is more properly called Shrove Tuesday, a name that comes from the practice of shriving, purifying oneself through confession.
Okay. Give me. I want a better understanding of Mardi Gras.
That's a whole different.
I want the. Let me see if I can find it. Go to Wikipedia on Mardi Gras real quick, and if you go to history, I want to pull that up real quick. Yeah, give me that real quick. And then I found the one I was looking for in the two Babylons. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm searching up the history.
Yeah. You got it?
It's coming up. My joint's moving a little slow. Mardi Gras history. Found the source. Now I'm gonna. What the hell's going on?
Let me read it real quick. So Mardi Gras, right? And so basically it says this. Some think that Mardi Gras may be linked with ancient Roman celebrations of spring and fertility such as Saturnalia, which dates back to 133 to 31 BC. The celebration honored the god of agriculture. That's what it's all about. See, Lent is the celebration of honoring the god of agriculture. It has nothing to do with Christ. This is a Roman and Babylonian pagan holiday, right? So it says the celebration honored the god of agriculture, Saturn, which is what Saturnalia was about. Saturn, which is observed in mid-December before the sowing of winter crops, it was a week-long festival when work and business came to a halt. Schools and courts of law closed and normal social patterns were suspended, right? The festival varies from city to city, as some traditions, such as in New Orleans, Louisiana, consider Mardi Gras to stretch the entire period from the 12th night, right, to Ash Wednesday, right? So the 12th night, the last night of Christmas, which begins Epiphany to Ash Wednesdays. Others treat the final 3-day period before Ash Wednesday as Mardi Gras. So it's a three-day event that goes on. And it's associated with a lot of reveling. It's associated with a lot of disnormal social patterns, right? Where it says social patterns were suspended. There's a lot of reveling that goes on during Mardi Gras. And it's the idea that I need to get it in before Ash Wednesday, before Lent begins. So you can go and be the biggest whore. You could be, you could do, be the biggest drunk, do all this reveling, do all manner of evil. And then what do you do after that? You present yourself before the Lord for 40 days. And then after Easter, you go back to doing the same things that you were doing. You know what I'm saying? But Mardi Gras played a big role, and carnivals across the world play a big role with Lent. Give me one more. Give me the 2 Babylons, right? Pull that up. I found a source that I'm looking for. And actually, give me, since we got about 4 minutes, type in carnival, right, and Lent, if you don't mind, because I want to, because it gets deeper with the, go to, give me Britannica. Carnival, Lent, give me Britannica real quick before we get to the other one.
Carnival, Lent, Britannica.
Yeah, give me that.
Get there.
It's considered the pre-Lent festival. Go ahead.
It's getting there, sir.
And keep in mind, what's funny about it is that it states it takes places in Roman Catholic countries. That's every Caribbean country, that's every Central American country, that's every South American country. But go ahead.
Kind of sloppy, sir. I was trying to explain to somebody how carnival roots are in Rome.
Always.
For some reason they believe it's an African tradition.
No, it's not. Not at all.
So, I can't even connect it to Africa.
No, not at all. Got it?
It's loading up, sir. I cannot connect it to Africa in any way, form, shape.
It's connected to Saturnalia.
Come.
And we've spoken about Saturnalia. But just give me that first paragraph.
Still loading up, sir. How big is this?
You got it?
No, it's still loading up.
I'm going to read this one.
Wi-Fi's not messing with me.
No sweat. So the carnival, right? Let's tie this into Lent. Carnival, the merrymaking and festivity that takes place in many Roman Catholic countries in the last days and hours before Lenten season. So those last days and hours, when you see all these festivities that are going on in Trinidad and in Brazil, it's just days and hours before the Lenten season starts, right? The derivation of the word is uncertain, though it possibly can be traced to medieval Latin carnem lavar, or carne lavarium, which means to take away or remove meat. That's what it means, right? To take away, to abstain from meats again, right? This coincides with the fact that the carnival is the final festivity before the commencement of the austere 40 days of Lent, during which Roman Catholics in early times fasted, abstained from eating meat, and followed other ascetic practices. The historical origin of carnival is also obscure. It possibly has its roots in a primitive festival honoring the beginning of the new year and the rebirth of nature. And we spoke about the new year, right?
Okay.
The new year begins when? When the flowers start blooming and start blossoming. This is something that people that were worshiping the gods, the gods of agriculture, this is something that they've celebrated prior to that, which is why Lent has a huge tie with Saturnalia, with Tammuz, with the Babylonian system, right? Though it is also possible that the beginnings of carnival in Italy may be linked to the pagan Saturnalian festival of ancient Rome, right? The first carnival varies with both national and local traditions. Thus, in Munich, we don't need to read that, but this just goes to show how there's a link between why these people are celebrating this right before Ash Wednesday or right before Lent. You know what I mean? There's a huge link to that. I wanted to get to the two Babylons. You still have it up?
Salaka, so I use this to search. I use that spot to search up this, and I got it.
No sweat. We're about to wrap it up. I want to see if I can find it real quick. Let me see if I can find it. So in the book called The Two Babylons, right? Now we're gonna wrap it up. Only for sake of time. We ran out of time. And with that, we're gonna end the history class. Announcements?
Let me get it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do the announcement. With that, I'm gonna pass the class over to priest and officer Ka Ariyah. Shalom.
Shalom, ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, started out of Rome West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithe, which is the commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3, verse 8 through 10. Ma'ashur, which means a tenth in the Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like, upcoming holy convocation. We got the Feast of Purim coming up this Saturday. If you need further information, get in contact with the school. We are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Contact Officer Isaiah Isla if needed. And with that, shalom.
Shalom.